In this video, I'm going to be philosophizing on the relationship existingly within dogmas and or superstitions and or supernaturalisms, all concerning assumptions one should eliminate to engage more clearer, meaningful thinking. Dogmas are well defined as it pertains to distinctions within absolute assumptions, distinct from clear thinking and or the soundness within valid and or psychologically truthful psychological truths, and or meaningfulness within evidential claims drawn from evidence instead of one's subjectivity, engaging pure subjectivity, intrinsically erroneous and or harmful and or counterproductive to the ultimate psychological truths of existentia, meaning pure subjectivity lacks meaningful subjectivu objectivu relacionavius. There is no, therefore, actuarial truth claim one may claim from evidence as one is engaging pure subjectivity, lacking objectivity, within what is intrinsically assumptive, instead of engaging more perspectival processes within perspective taking that may cultivate one's perspective, perceiving certain evidence in relation to evidential claims, engaging one's meaningful utterances of thought in the cultivation of perspective intrinsically biased, meaning distinct perspectives on distinct topics and or subject matter hold certain distinct directions, not always positive and or negative, as there may be distinct positive directions and or distinct negative directions, and the negative directions are uniquely counterproductive, and or the positive directions are uniquely promoting prosociality and or optimisms that are more altruistic and or optimize subjective well-being, be it the perspectives are accurate and or most approximate to the best approximations of what's most accurate. Cultivating soundness within valid and or psychological truth and or meaningfulness within one's communications, liberated of the dogmatic superstitions and or supernaturalisms intrinsically spurious with random connections without evidential truthfulness to those perceptions of what one treats to be valid and or true and or meaningful, yet is perceived and or thought of to be meaningful, lacking meaningfulness, resulting in more cognitive dissonance within injuries one inflicts upon the self, thinking and or perceiving superstitions and or supernaturalisms to be equated equitably to more difficult to refine and or cultivate within self-knowledge and or self-awareness evidential truth claims inferred from BADX causa effect dynamico associações within connecting rationally certain variables BAD to inferences into X causations meaningful to constitute analytic terms within the unique theory of knowledge certain actuarial claims derive from inferences into uniquely the intrinsic processes and or intrinsic properties, not what one thinks to be meaningful from what one infers in terms of one's own assumptions, often lacking inference and or communicating what comes to mind instead of communicating what is more evidential and drawn from existing prior experiences that truly are truthful and or in some cases engage more complex thinking with counterfactuals to refine subjectivity in terms of engaging some objective measure, shaping and forming the subjectivity to gain objective and or functional and or meaningful properties as one engages one's thinking from certain ingestions into sensors input, processing sets of meaningful information within the direct and or indirect perceptors that one processes meaningful information within direct perception, perceiving from one's direct and or indirect percepts of self what one thinks in relation to X component parts and or processes within one's consciousness to refine and or define the distinct internal and or external characteristics meaningful to allowance and or disallowance certain associative meaning interpretations. One calibrates analytic terms to what one has vocabs to clearly communicate as must be good enough and necessarily necessary conditions, defining accurately the best approximations in order to satisfy the necessarily necessary conditions within communications, constituting certain intrinsic processes and or intrinsic properties. One is aware within self-knowledge and or self-awareness as it pertains to distinctions within the intracategorical and or intercategorical effectivenesses and or efficiencies, inferring the functional and or meaningful properties in order to infer the objective properties within one's refining of subjectivity, eliminating assumptions to infer evidential claims within one's self-knowledge and or self-awareness, be it self-knowledge is uniquely what is connecting distinct direct perceptions of one's volitional outputs of communication to the complexities of one's thinking, meaningful to connect subjectivity to objective intrinsic processes and or intrinsic properties within the communication. Most meaningful to eliminate superstitions and or supernaturalisms within what is most realistic, meaning realistic truths existingly connect subjectivity to the self surrounds within the perceptions of surrounding objectivity, connecting subjectivu objectivu relacionavius within the self to infer all possible probabilistic truths unique to one's current certain self-knowledge and or self-awareness, meaning self-knowledge and or self-awareness uniquely connect subjectivu objectivu relacionavius, never uniquely subjectivity, meaning there's always a connection within subjectivity to objectivity, be it that one holds